Better late than never.
Welcome to NUFC Talk TV. We are live again here on a late night discussion amongst Newcastle United fans about what are we going to talk about? About what's
Well, let's
happening, the
have a talk about
strategy.
the transfers.
Newcastle's summer transfer strategy has been is an article posted by two known journalists within the Athletic, Chris Wolf and Culkin. Was his first name George?
George Cock.
George
Yeah.
Colton.
And they have, of course, they got their sources, but they basically have put together an article where they explain with some type of information and, of course, their opinion on what the transfer strategy is for Newcastle United in this summer. And so we're gonna go step by step and dissect this article with the main talking points, and we're gonna have a good old country discussion. None of you know what that is, but anyway, a discussion nonetheless. That's all it means. It's the same thing. I don't know why people
slap my thigh.
There you go.
Like out at Hooters or something.
Yeah. So there you go. Are fans right to worry about the lack of activity? That's the main question. It's a question on the title, I believe, and somewhere I'm sure you see it somewhere. And should fans be worried? I think they have a legitimate reason to be worried, simply because we haven't signed a player in their windows in 12 days. So I think they have a right to be worried.
10 days. It should after 10 days.
Yeah, well, 10 days. Yeah, you're right. So three windows in 10 days. But we're gonna dive into what they're saying here, and I'll give you the talking points, and you guys react to it. But first of all, what do you guys think? Should do Newcastle fans have the right to be worried, at least for the meantime, until something happens, until it's proven that we're gonna sign players or we have money to do that, and we're gonna go to Kieran Maguire in a minute, who said basically we got all the money in the world, so what's nothing to be worried about. So all right. But what do you guys think then, Gary? Let me start with you. What, do you think the Newcastle fans have a right to be worried after what we've seen? Again, as I said, past the windows.
I mean, history has proven in the past. This is a different start of the season, if you like, because of the Club World Cup, and they've changed the goalposts to a degree to help the teams going on the Club World Cup to get players in. Now, for me, like I said, I'm a Newcastle fan, and am I worried? No, I'm not, because I don't think it was ever going to be in the first 10 days of this first window. Hence, I went away on holiday and enjoyed myself rather than listen to all the hype and Eddie Out Brigade already marching and sounding the drums. For me, it was a case of it wasn't our window to start playing. I mean, yes, there's players that have gone that were heavily linked to Newcastle. But again, when you look at why they've gone, Newcastle were never going to be able to pay that money. I mean, today we're linked with Sancho. And the reasons why Chelsea paid $5 million to have him back was because of his wage demands. He's got one more year on his contract. I mean, the Sancho, it's just BS. There is no way that Newcastle are going to go out there and give Sancho $300,000 a week, which is what he's on at Man U. And obviously, I think he was offered 160% of his wages, so like £170 million at Chelsea, with a 25 million because they had the loan to buy clause, and they've sent him back for 5 million because the lad just hasn't performed. And I think that the biggest thing for me is a case of, I've heard today that we're linked with him. I've heard again we're linked with Chevalier because the price tag, and we discussed it on Wednesday about the obviously the Newcastle tax. And now it seems as though we're looking at Chevalier, who's 70 million euros. So, I mean, like I say, you don't know where these reports are coming from, and and I've just been looking now, and we're looking at this right wing back, Jenny Katoma, from Sporting, and I think again we were talking about are we looking for a right winger, or are we looking at Eddie now looking at changing the system a little bit and having players play the style that he wants to go, obviously, into the Champions League and play. Mm-hmm. So I think the 1st of July is when the purse starts to open, and that's when you start to question whether it's going to be a failure for Newcastle.
Now, so on the show that you guys did on Wednesday, which is a great show about the Saudi tax, that's something that's here, and I don't see really an exit for it, or I don't think that we can really eliminate this Saudi tax. So either we're gonna have to deal with it, or just basically not sign anybody. So I guess either or, whichever is the better option. It's not going anywhere, right?
No.
The Saudi tax is the Saudi tax. People are gonna look at us and charge more, plain and simple. So now.
But I think it's different on the Burnley. Just before you go to win, I think it's different on Burnley because they've got the sell-on clause to give back to Man City, so they'll be trying to pay or get as much back for Trafford because again they've got to go out there and spend for a new goalkeeper if Trafford does move out there. So I don't really think that the Saudi tax is against Trafford. I think it's more the fact that it's the sell-on fee that they're going to have to pay Man City back.
Yeah. So. I agree with that. When on that show that you guys were talking about, some people, I'm just going to choose 2 comments just to be easy on you. But you bring this positiveness, and that's fine. That's your strategy. That's cool. But it ain't working. It hasn't worked for the last 3 windows. So I can understand the first window. You want to be positive. Perfect. But then, it makes no sense because right here, for example, John Brown, who I've never seen him live, but John Brown, he comments, "When you probably said the same thing during the last 3 windows, and we ended up buying nobody. We bought Asula and then Pivas, those kindergartners, but they really didn't work out for the first team. But by the way, this is unbiased win because he also tells me cracking show without Chris. So listen, it's unbiased as it'll get. And Ronnie Omelette here says, Wynn's entire theory is based on nothing but thin air. Even if we bought Gehi, that doesn't mean that we didn't have a big sale lined up post that event. I'm just trying to read his comment. The Howe thing is based on nothing, and we don't have any reason whatsoever to think that PIF aren't back in Howe. They spent the maximum they could and beyond. And by the way, we're live. We're not recorded, so I got your comments coming in as well. So
who was that? Who was that, Chris?
This was Ronnie Omelette. And John Brown.
Congratulations on getting promoted.
Okay. So, I mean, why won't you understand that there are fans like you, which, you were excited about life. I understand that. And about, whatever Newcastle does. So I get that. But there are other fans that are looking at it from the bigger picture. They're zooming out and saying, these are a year and a half. We haven't seen a new player. DX, you sent me a message. What was the last player that we signed that was a proper one?
Asula, I guess.
No. I'm sorry. I may rephrase the question. What was the last proper signing that we got?
The Marquis signing. Oh yeah.
No. I'm not asking for Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm asking somebody that can come into the first one.
Probably Harvey Barnes in July.
And that was
July the 23rd, 2023.
2023, July. I was on vacation in July usually. So I'm about to go on vacation again in July. So when 4th of July is big deal in America. When we beat the invaders. But anyway, Win, answer the question, mate. Why do you have an issue with people just voicing their opinions?
We're qualified for Europe.
Oh, my God.
Champions League in 22-23. And in that window, we went out and we bought Tonali and Harvey Barnes. Spent more money for the reasons that we all know. We had neither of them for the full following season, but we'd blown the money then, on top of the money that we'd already blown, bringing in Bruno, Isaac.
Drink some water, man.
Botman.
Gurgle.
Over there we go.
Barry White.
What the heck? Your fire alarm going off?
No, it's not. It's me.
I thought that was
the smart meter.
I thought that was Wynn's pacemaker going off, man.
Yeah, I don't think I'm peeing at the minute.
Go on, Wynn.
The new money doesn't come in until the 1st of July.
Okay.
before then, we've still got another, whatever it is, 7 days or something, before the 1st of July, to inflict on somebody else what we had to endure last summer when we had to sell Anderson and Minty.
Aston Villa.
So we've got the chance to inflict that on them before July the 1st. Why everybody's panicking, I have got no idea at all.
But you listen. I just told you, man. Last 3 windows that matters.
No,
You're seeing, and listen, and again, I'm with you that I think there is that you can be positive about certain things, and that it couldn't. There's no way that we're not going to sign anybody. But the fact is, you will see some trends going on. And look,
the reason we haven't signed anybody in the last 3 windows is because the window before that, we spent 100 million on Tonali.
Wait.
And Harvey Barnes.
But where was this? You never brought this up ever before. You've always talked about the conspiracy of PIF not wanting to spend to Eddie Howe.
hang on,
So which one do you believe? I don't know what you believe, man.
I've told them, I've been perfectly
So you've been just speaking for 10 minutes for no reason because you don't believe in that theory. You're just saying it about PSR and all that.
I believe we had money to spend in January, and we didn't spend it because PIF weren't backing Eddie.
Okay, so that's the reason why we haven't spent then. Which is, to be honest, if that's true, I'm hopeful because that means
was January.
Now they can choose to spend.
January, now the fact that they've got rid of Mitchell means that they've picked the horse they're going to back.
Yeah.
And so we'll get who we want.
Okay,
and we've got money to spend.
Standing in the way, wasn't he?
So basically, So he agreed with everybody. Basically, that's what he's saying. You know, he thinks PSR is a problem. We don't have money, but PIF had money, but didn't want to spend on 80. So anyway,
in January.
Moving on to DX. Then DX.
We do know that in summer, before the 1st of July, we had to sell, which is why we lost Anderson and Minty.
Okay.
After the 1st of July, we knew that we had the money to bid for Gay and for Alanga. That money had to still be there in January, and they chose not to spend it because by then Mitchell had got his feet under the table, and PIF, obviously by appointing him in the first place, had decided he was the preferred choice.
All right.
Then Eddie blew them all out the water by doing what he did, and they've had to say, right, okay.
Okay. Well, we're gonna give you an opportunity to drink some water and chill because you're a little bit rocky at the moment. DXK with Paul Mitchell, the sporting director, standing down effective June 30th.
I've been doing a lot of singing.
Okay. Thanks for interrupting, man. This segment. So Paul Mitchell, the sporting director, standing down effective June 30th, which you reminded us in the chat, and Darren Neals, the chief executive and CEO, already serving his notice of, well, I don't know. He gave his notice last year, so I don't know. I'm reading from the article here from Chris Wolf and George Culkin. They're asking, are Newcastle in a state of limbo, or are they merely bidding their time? What do you think about this situation? Because I mean, clearly, with the CEO is shaky, and then Paul Mitchell leaving, who's in charge?
Oh, there's one man in charge, isn't there?
All right,
Eduardo Howe right now. He's the
Edward John Frank Howe.
That's the one. But yeah, so I'm not quite as worried as some people because I've sort of looked back into how PIF have done their business in the summer. And the big signings we tend to make are always in July and August, not in June. So we signed Sven Botman, July the 1st. Alexander Isak, August the 26th. Then the following summer, we got Tonali on the 3rd of July, Barnes on the 23rd July, Livramento 8th of August, and Lewis Hall on loan 22nd of August. So we don't tend to do our big business until later in the summer. That's just the pattern of how things have gone. Last summer, of course, we only signed Asula for money. Well, Vlachodimos, but I don't count that. So, I'm not too worried. I'm a little bit concerned about the fact it seems to take ages to do anything, like to replace people. I know they've got a process and they want to do it properly and they want to make sure they get the right people. But even when they were appointing Eddie Howe, it was a long process. It was drawn out. There was the thing with Unai Emery that was a bit embarrassing. Then we had to go to Eddie Howe, second choice of some of the board, first choice of some of the board. Come on, get him in. And Graham Jones had to man. And everything seems to be a bit like that, very process driven, quite slow. Getting directors in, took ages to get Ashworth in. Of course, he had the gardening leave after that. And then it took a long time to get, it didn't take a long time to get Mitchell, but we knew Ashworth was leaving, so we could line that one up. But yeah, it just, everything seems to take a while with the ground as well. We were supposed to have an announcement that was delayed. I just hope that they're a little bit more decisive in what they're doing. And I don't know if maybe having one voice at the end of that, Eddie, it might be a good thing for the short term, not for the long term, but like just for one window, just put all our eggs in that basket and then appoint someone afterwards. It might muddle the thinking if we bring in a director from Forest or something in the middle of the transfer window. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry just yet, but I would like to see some sort of progress where we can say, okay, tangible progress. Even if I know people in this chat don't all like James Trafford, but even signing someone of that ilk, a talented young player, at least that gets the ball rolling, and you can say, okay, now things are starting to and the panic of some fans dissipates a little bit. So, yeah, I'm not too worried, Chris. I'm sort of.
Shout out to the bearded Tune fan who says, "Love the show, guys. Need to start pulling finger out. All of the best players will be bought. If not, leave Trafford now. Move on to Lil Keeper. Looks class. Who's the Lil Keeper?
Chevalier.
Oh, that's the one that you were mentioning. Okay, gotcha.
He's going to PSG.
Okay, so he's going to PSG.
What does that do?
But maybe we should tell.
Get rid of Donnarumma.
Little girls.
Maybe we should tell him that we are in London and he'll just run and he'll just swim to us. According to Mighty Win, that's the strategy.
Donnarumma said he was leaving Jefferson. He said he said he was finishing. Yeah, well, that was the rumor. He said he'd had enough. He was finishing. But I mean, whether that's retiring or what, I don't know.
No, he's only like 25, isn't he?
Yeah, he's young. But...
I don't know.
Just no good back of what DX was saying.
Well, hold on. Let me okay, finish. Go ahead. Quickly.
On the back of what DX was saying about Mitchell coming in for Ashworth and all that. Remember, we couldn't actually sign Mitchell up because Ashworth was still in that position on gardening leave. And if Mitchell had come in before Ashworth went to Man U, he would have had a legal case to say, constructive dismissal and all that. We would have got no compensation at all.
But was it a bit of a hair trigger move from the outgoing CEO that he... Obviously, Eels has worked with Mitchell before.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt at all.
Or was it just
no doubt at all that Eels wanted Mitchell to be top dog. No doubt about that at all.
Yeah. So let me go with Jefferson then. Obviously the mini window has closed now due to the World Cup in America. By the way, nobody's buying no damn tickets. We barely had. There's not a lot of tickets being bought to the Club World Cup. And not to get political, but due to the certain, what's going on in the country here, people can't come in. So that's an issue. But FIFA maybe didn't have it. And by the way, it's not just FIFA may be questioning themselves because now you got the World Cup here. You got a lot of stuff coming up in the United States. So anyway,
Olympics as well, isn't it? Coming soon.
Yeah. Who?
Olympics in Los Angeles.
Oh, the Olympics as well. Yeah, that's right. But anyways, so So the mini window shut down on Tuesday. Newcastle had done little more than just announce a retained list, and even then, that list is not really too much accurate because I've seen that that some people, might be sold or might be renewed. It's kind of confusing. Um, but they did certify that Wilson. Who else was it? The two goalkeepers, the bald one, and the
Ruddy.
other, and somebody else was it?
John
And Gillespie was confirmed.
Gillespie.
Gillespie was confirmed. So that right there, even from the PR perspective, Jefferson, it didn't help out with the backlash because if you just wait, if you're going to do that, wait until the end, until everything is closed, until you sign the players already, because the perspective is key, and that just didn't go well with certain fans. So, but what are you thinking? Are you concerned? Are you what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think fans have every right to feel unsettled. We've had historical trauma from the time under Ashley. I remember many a time watching it on Sky where we didn't sign anyone. And then, even in the new ownership, the first 18 months, yeah, we're talking about some of these signings that come in, but the next 18 months hasn't been as good. So you're talking about 3 windows there, and we're talking about us making signings. Well, I think a pivotal person there was Mandy. She was able to sell the vision of the club to draw people in. Now we've got rid of Mitchell. We don't have that person. And whether anybody likes it or not, Eddie Howe's a head coach. He doesn't have a strategic vision. He's not going to be able to sell, the future of the club. I think as well, we've sort of revealed our hands a bit in terms of the way we're running. Before, I think there was a bit of the unknown where people thought, oh, would they be like a Man City? Would they be like a PSG? But we seem pretty stifled and to run in a slightly different way. So I think arguably I would say the excitement of the project has been taken out of it. Um, I think some of the issues that are cropped up is people talking about Saudi tax. There is no Saudi tax, right? What there is Premier League proven tax, and
Correct.
we've run into that brick wall ourselves. Now I'm not going to fully blame Eddie. People will say it's Eddie because he's made it known those are the kind of players he likes. But his recruitment team, in the absence of Mitchell, should be saying, here are some other options, and we need to be scouting players and taking risks on foreign players. We shouldn't be going to Chevalier as a second option when he's someone with Champions League experience, but we're going to someone that has played in the Championship. We're doing things the wrong way round here. So Mitchell was right. The strategy is not fit for purpose. If we are indeed going for these Premier League proven players, and you're going to spend what 200 plus million on what 4 or 5 players, crazy
But
stuff.
but doesn't it have to be? Because I agree with you, and even Mighty Win agree with you in the first part. I agree with you, but doesn't it have to be in between? You don't have to get super young players that nobody's ever heard of, but you can get younger, proven in the world of football talent
Hmm.
that may not be Premier League players just because they didn't get the opportunity. But why is it so hard to to get a proven Serie A player or a proven Bundesliga or La Liga player? Is that's the issue, right? Because
Hmm.
me and Win can it's whatever, we just talk shite. But if the manager really has
Speak for
just just
yourself.
just wants to get Premier League proven only, then he is literally limiting himself to a small group of players, and they cost money. And even agree with that.
Yeah,
Win.
I'm 100%. Oh, sorry.
No, I
No,
was just going to say,
I
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
all I was going to
agree.
say is, does he want Premier League proven only? Because we've had Isaac, Tonali,
that's proof of the pudding right
Botman,
there.
Bruno, Botman,
Bruno
yeah.
Botman. There's been quite a few foreign players that have come in as
But
well.
what's changed? Because something's changed now. But,
It might just be a
That's
phase.
that's what I was saying. The vision of the club that we've lost momentum. I know it sounds crazy because we're in the Champions League, but in terms of the trajectory, there was this whole thing where people felt because of the owners, we would be moving at a super advanced rate. We're going to be like PSG or Man City. Not us. I think we're very realistic. Obviously there was jokers saying, sign Neymar or whatever. We knew that sort of stuff wasn't going to happen. But for
yeah.
for players are going to be intrigued because they're like, I want to be part of this new project. But I think the curtain's been drawn a little bit, and people can see actually the wheels have slowed down. I think the other thing as well is Eddie hasn't helped in terms of he was the one that said we need to act quickly, right?
He did say. Hold on, no. But we're going to get into that in a minute. But he did say that. Why would he say that and not try to do what he said? I mean, I don't
precisely. So unless he's been blocked, because
well,
I wanted to make about PIF, I'm going to make a point about PIF in a second. Unless he's been blocked, that I think ups people's anxieties because you've said something, so we're expecting a follow up, and that doesn't happen. And if you correlate how PIF are with their business, so if anybody doesn't know in terms of their portfolio, we're talking about BP, we're talking about Shell, we're talking about Uber, we're talking about Facebook, Disney, and then you've seen what they've done with the golf. They've fully transformed golf, Formula One, boxing. These are business people. They are not amateurs. They know exactly what they're doing. So to see them sort of almost borderline apathetic in terms of backing the manager when it comes to football, it doesn't fit to type. There's something not quite right there for me.
Yeah. So
just on that point now, mate, does any of them have PSR issues? All them sporting areas that you've just been.
Yeah, but
wait. When you've got money in the bank, well, we all know they've got the money there. Everybody does. It's common knowledge. It's not PIF that is the problem. It's the other 19 clubs in the Premier League that's the problem, or the other 15 that backed against us. We could have gone out there and spent, as we did in the first couple of windows, and everybody says thank you very much to Mandy, but it was virtually the same unit, background staff, apart from one or two faces that have changed. And the only thing that stopped us now from going on, and I know you guys were saying there was money last window because we put a £50 million in for Guy. We didn't move anywhere near what Crystal Palace again moved the goalposts. And then we put an 11th hour bid in against Elanga. But the rumour was we would have to sell if we went and put bids in for these guys and we bought them. So again, was the money there or was we over the ceiling of PSR? So like I said, we can all speculate and we can all sit here and say, I want this name and I want that name, but none of us actually really know how much we had to play with.
Yeah, but in that case, let's talk about.
No, you see, that's what I'm saying. You always go on the negative side.
No, but we're going to have a conversation because
but that's what I'm saying.
Actually, we're going on of the article, by the way. And they are saying we got money. Kieran Maguire is saying that we got money on Sky Sports. So
yeah, but that's the 1st of July, Chris, because the 74 million that we were in debt is gone. Then that's what I'm saying. So how can you expect to spend in the first 10 days of June?
Well, first of all, I didn't say that we needed to or we should.
Everybody's
be
been saying
certain players. I'm talking about the strategy, which is wait until, and the strategy here on this article says wait until prices drop. That's not waiting until we got money to spend. That's waiting until prices drop when teams are needed to sell due to PSR reasons. And so we're going to catch these
before July.
We're going to catch these players for cheap. Is that a good strategy to wait? Newcastle United needs. We can agree at least 3. I'd say 4. Some say 5 players. You're going to get all of that. All of that's going to be done in less than a month.
So when Eddie said, we've got to, this was at his press conference.
Quickly, because I got to go Boki.
Pre-Everton game. It was the Friday before the Everton game. We've got to be ready to pounce. We've got to be ready to pounce quickly. That was Eddie sending a message to PIF saying, right, I want to be backed. Then he went out, did the business, didn't do the business on the day as it happens, but got Champions League. He's got the cup in his bag. He's in a position of more strength than he'll ever have. And he got and then they got rid of Mitchell. So when everybody's saying, Eddie said, right, we're going to be ready to pounce, so everybody's expecting all.
Well, he didn't say that though. He didn't say that.
He
didn't say we're getting ready to pounce. We didn't say none of that. He said we need to, and I got the quotes. We need to get the deals done and be quick because certain players don't wait around. That's what he said. he didn't.
He said, we've got to be
Basically,
ready to pounce.
what I'm saying is, what he's saying, he's not in it. He's going public with this. He's telling whoever needs to hear this that we need to be quick and not like before, right?
right.
So that leads me to believe, to defend Eddie, and I was defending him against, I think, Jefferson, when he was making a point that he might be at fault. Because why would he come out and I guess talk to himself, just say that we need to be quick, and then just hurt himself by not getting these players in quick? I think what he's doing is he's going public with that statement. Now, whether that's worked or not, I don't know. Right? It could be that we got to wait until the window opens back up. So let me go with Boki though, because he hasn't had anything to say, and then Key 88. So this article here says Newcastle are in a far stronger position, particularly after recouping fees for Miguel Almiron, Lloyd Kelly. Lloyd Kelly, how much would we get for that?
20 mil.
20 million
I
squid.
thought it was 30 something.
No.
20.
Okay.
20 for nothing.
And in January, so they have money available.
Wages.
They have money available, but there are caveats. They are
I'm
not the
making-
biggest. Here's the thing: Newcastle are not the biggest wage payers, and will not be taken advantage of when it comes to the so-called Saudi tax. So, that Boki, what do you think about this whole situation? First of all, what's going on?
First thing, I'd just pick a little bit on what Jeff was saying about we're losing momentum as a club. I think, got to remember, we won a cup within the last 3 months, the first one in 70 years, and we're qualified for Champions League. I would say
Off the pitch. The
But,
excitement.
I mean, the football happens on the pitch would be the counter argument to that.
Exactly.
And I think on the pitch we're proving that we are progressing as a club. We definitely are. But anyway, going back to the transfer side of it, I think what we've got to remember as well is, are we holding back a bit of money to increase some of the players' wages that we've already got? You know, like, so Isaac isn't going to hang around on the wage that he's got now. But if you increase his, you've then got to look at all the rest of the top class players and to give them a little bit more. And that's not going to be an insignificant amount of money over the terms of the contracts that they're going to want. And plus, then signing players, I don't think it was realistic, or we're ever going to sign anybody big in the first 10 days.
But you know, Bookie, I don't know. I have never heard a fan say that we need to sign Mbappe and Jude Bellingham. Never. I've never heard a fan say that. I think fans are frustrated because we haven't signed anybody. Plain and simple. You know, that can affect the team. And again, you keep going to that, but that's fine. So go on, Boogie.
I don't think that was ever going to be the case in the first 10 days. I think, as Jefferson said, I think the problem was, I know you're going to come back to this, but Eddie, I think, slightly raised expectations unrealistically when he says we need to act fast. I think what you've got to remember is, as well, a lot of clubs and staff and stuff are still on holiday. They've got the Club World Cup. They've had the end of the Premier League season. Then we've got the Club World Cup. So they've got they need to be taking the holidays. So even if we're signing somebody now, they're not going to be sort of getting Eddie's training or the club training until when they come back to pre-season. So to be honest, I don't know why they did this 10-day window. It just seems,
well, it makes no sense.
Apart from the Club World Cup to help the big boys, basically.
My only point was about the fans not being unsettled is because you cannot erase the 3 windows in the past. You cannot erase that. So it became a pattern. Now this time it might be different, but again, you just gotta wait and see what's going to happen after when the window open. When does the window open again? By the way,
1st of July.
But I think if we both players in them windows in the past would then be taking the chance of the fact that we pay for the first 2 at least, that would have been against FFP. And do we take the point? The weighing up board process was: do you take the points reduction, or do you sign the players? And look, by now you're probably thinking you're better off signing the players, because nothing really seems to have happened to any teams that have done it.
What do you think, Key 88? What do you think about this whole situation?
Well, personally, I'm not worried about the fact that they haven't signed anybody yet. I think there's lots of reasons why that could be, but the main thing for me is we're at the start of the window, and the selling club's going to put the price at the top. If you see what I mean, they're not going to come in and sell it low because there's plenty of time to go. So I cannot see why people are really that bothered about it, to be honest. I mean, they're already seeing with Bremo saying he wants to go to Man United. The club's already taken a stance there, saying that they won't pay them kind of wages, from what I've read anyway.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the transfer fee, it's the wages. Personally, I'd be happier getting Isak tied down, because I think that's the most important thing at the minute for me. Because we've got to hang on to him. And the other point is, all we've done is spent, albeit had not for the last few windows, and we're just not very good at selling players, because the only players of any value are the ones that nobody wants to lose.
Man, you can say that again. Boy, that was a statement and a half right there.
I mean,
by the way, the window opens again on the 16th.
Okay.
Can I add something to that point, though, which I think is a really valid point, is that we need to be ruthless on and off the pitch, the board, but also the first team coach staff as well, because it's got to the point where there is no room for sentiment anymore. Eventually, we had to let go of Miggy. We didn't get much money for him, but we got something. This is where we need to be like now. Willock, time to go. Longstaff, time to go. Dubravka, time to go. Do you see what I'm saying? And I remember there was an opportunity we had where I think it was AC Milan and Atletico Madrid wanted Callum Wilson. And it was clear that Wilson, he had fitness issues and stuff like that. We know the coaches' association with the player. He decided to keep him because I think one was a loan option, one was a loan option, and the other one was at £18 million or something. And then we kept him, and then he injured his pectoral, and then he was out for the rest of the season. So this is what we're running into. We need someone there to say, look, we don't have to keep this group together, and we may even have to kind of encourage player trades.
I'll be right back, guys.
Encourage player trades. So I think Winner talked about someone like Gordon having a higher value than Barnes. If we get 60 million or whatever, it's a sacrifice for the greater good. We have to keep looking to the future. You're only as good as your last game. You've got to keep pushing and pushing. Because we've seen it with Villa. They were able to sell Douglas Luiz 45 million. Who's the other guy, the Colombian guy, for 70 million?
John Duran.
Duran. And I'm sure it hurts. Diaby, they sold Diaby for 50 odd million. Sometimes you got to let a player go. As much, let go of the sentiment essentially for the greater good of the club. Because if we sell, we can then reinvest that and buy some new players in.
But I think that's been part of it.
You're on about the 18 million that at the time allegedly we could have got from Atletico, and the 12 million at the time that we could have got for Trippier from Bayern Munich, allegedly.
Yes, it was that as well. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Right, now then, can you buy another backup centre forward for 18 million? Well, yes, we did. Because Asula, with his add-ons, will be 18 million.
15 million, I think.
It's 10 plus 5.
Okay, 15, 18. Tomato.
Yeah.
But I think Paul...
I agree with Eddie that because bear in mind we're going back to last summer when Wilson had come back and he was fit before he hurt his pec. And would Atletico have bought him then when he was injured again? Probably not.
Well, I think in hindsight, what Jefferson's saying is we need to be more brutal with some of our dealings. Like, yeah, we've got sentimentality for players, but the Trippier one, I think,
it's not sentimentality.
Well, it is for players like that.
Because they're good players.
We had Tino.
That's not right. You've got to think of the. Look at how long we kept hold of Dummett. Look at how long we kept hold of Richie.
Yeah,
now we're looking to keep hold of.
Look at Target on 100K.
Yeah, now we're looking to keep. Now we're looking to keep hold of Brad Friedel. It's Eddie. He can't really. He has a core thing of players. and he doesn't seem to be able to get to release them.
Good.
I sort of understand it with
Wow.
one of those goalkeepers. If you keep one as a backup on a few grand a week,
But
yeah.
but
Not all of those goalkeepers. That
Yeah,
doesn't make
yeah.
sense. We don't need 5.
We've had 2 goalkeepers. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but
no, but it isn't. It isn't when you take up a spot on the bench. It is the win. It is. Stop being biased, man. It is. When you put up a goalkeeper instead of a player, anybody, even a young player can do you good. You can teach them something. If, you can do something else other than have a retired man that really, according to you, is going to be one of the best goalkeeping coaches in the world. I don't know where that came from. But who cares, man? We're not a university.
Came from either.
We're not a university of goalkeepers, man. If Rudy wants to be a coach, then he needs to sign as a coach, not as a football player taking up a spot on the bench. It makes no sense. Makes zero sense.
Make him a coach now.
Exactly.
If he wants to be a coach, make him a coach.
yeah.
But as you say, you should be putting your.
Listen, I do not understand why he has 2 keepers on the bench.
When there's nobody fit, when there's not enough players fit to be on the bench, you should be bringing a young player in, not to play necessarily, but to get them used to match day squad.
Every team in the world does that.
I ain't going to argue against that.
Okay, then. So there you go. So we're good. You told us we were right. That's good one.
Because we're coupon busting. Because what people don't understand is we're going to be in the Champions League and we're in pot 4, which means we'll probably get a tough set of games. And we don't want it to be men against boys stuff. We don't want it to be embarrassing, right? We need a squad to fight on all fronts, which means you have to improve the quality. And guess what? Quality costs money. Quality costs money. And if you release a Longstaff, how much is on a Longstaff on? 60 grand? How much is on Wilson on?
We added it up, kind of not really doing it, but we did add it up with Mighty Win the other day when we were alone. We're talking about Longstaff. We talked about Lascelles being on around 40, something like that. Callum Wilson. Like, come on, man. And definitely target 100K a week. Come on, man.
We're stuck with target.
All of a sudden, you can afford it.
Yeah, and so
I think we're better get rid of it.
We can.
Now,
It's so short-sighted. It's not true, man.
What's not true,
Listen
Wayne?
to what you're saying.
What's not true?
You're saying, you add up Willock's salary, Longstaff's
No,
salary,
I wouldn't put Willock because you're going to have to
Gillespie's
replace
salary.
Willock.
You add them up this year. That's £100 million a week.
But you would have to you would replace him with somebody that can play.
You've got to replace them
With somebody that can play, not Lascelles who never plays, not Target who never plays, and not these goalkeepers that never play.
But
You actually have your money's worth on the bench.
Why don't they play?
Because clearly they are meant to be what's below championship.
Because they're not good enough.
The English Premier League 4.
No.
What do they got?
League 1.
The reason they don't play
Come on,
is
man.
because we've got such good players.
Man, when in
In
that
front
case,
of them.
in that case, we're done. In that case, we don't need to sign anybody. We got good players.
They'll win the
Perfect.
league.
We're good. We're good. We don't need anybody else then.
In
if that's the
lots
case.
in lots of positions, that's exactly where we are.
Okay. Well, you're talking nonsense right this morning.
First team wise,
And Mackenzie family win way too loyal for these. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. it is what it is. Now,
I think the biggest problem we've got, though, guys, is the fact that we talk about the Saudi tax, which again I think you go into the Premier League, you are going to pay a minimum amount regardless of who they are because they are Premier League players. Hence, I've said there's nothing like dipping your head or your toes in the water of the European leagues.
Something naughty there.
But for me, what we've got is the two ends of the scale. We've got the boys who we can sell that make the squad a better squad.
my thing
We can
is
sell a lot of players, but then we've got a lot of players at the other end that we can't get rid of. And I think the biggest
but you know what's
problem-
great? But you know what's crazy, Gary? At some point, you're going to have to look in the mirror and say, "Can we really sell these players?" And
Well,
exactly. If you look at the mirror and the mirror is telling you, "We can't, man. We're trying. We got them on a yard sale. I don't know if you got that in the UK, but we're putting them out there, man. But nobody wants them.
That's what I'm saying.
You're gonna have to
I think-
realize you might just want to release them, give them their contract.
Well,
and,
we've already done that with a few, haven't we? We've already got rid of a few players now and paid them off because they were some of them still had a year contract. So you look at it and you start saying to yourself, and this is where Mitchell had this vision of, we've got to stop being a giveaway club and just giving players away, because there's going to come a time where that's going to come back and bite us on the backside. And I think if you look at it, from everything that's going round, like I said, we're not like Liverpool's, the Man U's, the Man City's. I mean, I'm saying Man U now, but I mean, even they've fallen off because, again, you've got to have sellable assets. And the only sellable assets we have in Newcastle that's going to bring anything like the money that we want are the guys that we rely on week to week to get us results and Champions League football. So sometimes, and this is why, Darren Neal's come out with that statement saying everybody's for sale if the money's there, because we can't afford to keep saying to anybody.
I'm curious to ask you. I'm curious to ask you actually, because we had a conversation last week about Livermore. Man City wanted, and there was rumor £80 million, and I think me and you have had conversations about how Livermore just can't defend. Now, when that on that same show with me and him, he all of a sudden came up with, I think him and Boke as well, ganging up against me, talking how Livermore all of a sudden is a great defender, which I thought, man, who am I watching every week? So, what would you sell Livermore for $80 million?
Yes,
in a heartbeat.
I wouldn't.
When was shocked? When was shocked? He had to look twice. So. Look, man, if that's the one if that's the lamb that needs to be sacrificed, trust me, that's the one to go.
But
I mean, all these rumours. Sorry, go on, Doc.
Is that we keep offering players that aren't good enough to play new contracts. So Lascelles, why did he get offered a new contract? Gillespie, why is he getting offered a new contract?
Listen, I can't answer that. But I think, like I've just said, the biggest problem is you've got the two ends of the string. You've got those where you're just going to give players away and release them, or there's a potential of giving them another 12 months contract and maybe getting $1 million for them. Mm-hmm. And they still support. I'm not saying Gillespie, because, like I say, Gillespie's been a tease boy for a long time now. But I mean, the likes of Lascelles, if he can come back and give a couple of spells, then, I have no issue with Lascelles. We can see that he's not at the levels that we want, but he could be a good backup squad just to fit in, especially in lower league cup games, things like that, where it gives boys that have played 50, 60 games a season a rest, because that's what we haven't got. Because then you're reliant on very much the academy players.
Well, go on,
Keith. I don't know where we stand on this situation, but you've got this homegrown situation, haven't you, for like European competition? I've got no idea.
But there's only Sean Longstaff that fits that bill, isn't there?
And Mark Gillespie, but it's nonsense, because you need to have a certain amount of squad players but we don't even have that. Like, you have to have over 20, 22 players or something like that for that to kick on or whatever. But
there's got to be so many from the club, hasn't there? Homegrown club, and so many.
No, it's only Burn. It's only Burn, Longstaff, and trust me, man. If that's the reason, it ain't good enough reason. It just ain't.
Like I say, I didn't think Gillespie was club trained.
Well, I thought you had to be like
originally, I think 13 years ago, wasn't it?
I thought it had to be like a local.
I didn't think he qualifies. Gillespie.
Okay, well, he might not.
I think we released him when he was young. I could be.
Well, he should have stayed released.
Brought him back.
Anyway,
Chris,
but the point is, these are all factors that the people who are actually dealing with it have got to think about.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Can I ask something about the money? About the money, because you guys might be able to explain it more. My understanding is, let's just say we sold Willock to Fulham for like 25 mil, such as the rumor, right? So obviously we make profit. How does it work then? If we want to, let's just say we did sign Mbeumo for 50 million. If it's a 5-year contract, doesn't that look like we've only spent 10 million this year?
It does.
Yeah.
So what's all the fuss about? Let's go out and spend. If we can use
it was wages with Mbeumo.
But this is my point, that if we sell a player, that can be reinvested, or if we.
But then again, hold on though, because right here in this article, which we're going by, it's saying that PIF will not spend more than what they think is acceptable, and that's what it could be. It could be. It's obviously good, but it could be worrisome as well, because sometimes the market is moving in a direction that you just can't help, and fortunate or unfortunate, players will go and come and go to places where they get paid the most.
Well,
And
that was Amanda's point, wasn't it? When they first come in, she said they wouldn't be held to ransom and just pay anything. She said
Exactly.
that from day one.
yeah,
I,
and
I mean, look. You know, Manchester United have finished. Was it 16th in the league, and still earned 300 million more than we have, finishing 5th.
yeah, so that's why that nonsense that them
That's
winning
catching up
was
to me.
gonna make them rich. That Mighty Win was talking about. It's irrelevant, man.
Not
They're gonna
really,
be
them
able. Look at
even
them.
more ahead,
They're
man.
signing more than what they are now, man. I don't think they can get any higher than this. And Buemo, the other twat. They
Could
don't
you?
have to sell.
By
They don't
by
have to
the
sell.
way, by the
They don't
way.
have to sell Bruno Fernandes.
Hang on.
But
They haven't bought Mbeumo yet because
because of the salary.
They were counting on getting the 70 million for Bruno
No,
too.
Win. That's not the case. He's not going anyway. The deal would have been.
And
it
that's
would
why
have
they
fallen.
haven't signed Mbeumo yet.
They're negotiating with there's the contract situation. They don't want to be in a position where Trafford, the other guy that went to Villa, what's his name? Rashford. Rashford was on 400K, and he wasn't wanted. So they don't want to be in that situation, clearly. I don't care how much money you got. Not even Real Madrid. They don't pay that much money. Sometimes. Well, Mbappe gets paid a lot of money, to be fair, but one or two players. So now we're talking about how much money we can spend. This article here says that Mitchell will continue to direct Newcastle's transfer policy with Howe retaining the final say. So that's what they're saying. So that means if any rumor that's happening right now, if it is true that Eddie Howe is the one that's in charge, that's what they're saying right here. So until June 30th, and then Eels will be expected to pick up the slack. That's what this is saying. So they want to PIF, according to Wolf, PIF wants to bolster Howe's squad while maintaining financial prudence. The owners are determined to avoid going multiple windows without investing again. They want to leave PSR headroom to recruit again in the next year's winter window and beyond. So that's important to think, to have in mind. Also says Newcastle are adamant they will not overpay for players, though believing present asking prices are inflated. However, sizable expenditure is anticipated, and the boardroom level desire to support Howe within sustainable limitations is absolute. Now let's go with Mr. Maguire, who said that we can spend all the money in the world. So let's take a listen to him. He's supposed to be the guru of this stuff.
Similar position, weren't they, previously? They had some PSI issues last summer. They had to sell Elliot Anderson, Jan Cooper, Minter. What are they looking like at the moment? Have they got themselves back into a better position to spend now?
Yes, Newcastle United have had 3 very quiet windows by their standards. And I think the good news for Newcastle is that season 2021, because PSR is assessed over a 3-year period, season 21-22, when Newcastle lost over £70 million, that drops out of the equation on the 1st of July. So therefore, I think Newcastle are in a much stronger position this summer to compete once again in the market. They don't have as free a rein as the likes of Chelsea, but they are still in a far stronger position than they were 12 months ago. And I don't see any pressure on the club with that need to sell players before they start to bring anybody in. It could be that there will be some player trading. They certainly have freed up some of the spots on the wage budget, but there's not that very, very significant pressure that we saw, as you rightly say, with Anderson and Minte leaving last June.
All right, so that was Kieran Maguire speaking there, Win. So you got educated on finances, man?
Did you hear what he said?
He said we spent
1st of July.
Yeah, that's fine. Again, you keep getting fixated on that. Nobody expected, to sign anybody big or any. We to be honest, and I told you last week, I said I'm actually happy with the players we are linked with, and I'm excited about this window. But I will continue to defend fans who feel like who are seeing certain patterns. I will defend them because it's been 3 windows without a proper signing. It has been. It has been, and the same patterns have happened. So I can't tell. I cannot tell an abused fan to not be scared.
An abused
fan. An abused fan to not be scared. They're scared that we're not going to sign. So I can't tell. We're going to have to let the club prove those fans wrong and help with their, cope with their PTSD with the transfer window, as far as transfer window is concerned. So.
I wish I'd been as abused as I am right now, being a fan for the last 60 years. Mate.
Well, not 60. The last 15 years or so. 20 years.
No, 60.
No, not 60. We were always a proper club, man. The whole time. We didn't win. We didn't win doesn't mean that we weren't a proper club. Although in the 90s we spent like nobody's business. We spent like the king of Qatar right now, man, and not Roy Kaviani. So, we used to spend like crazy. So you tell me. Anyway.
And you're trying to say fans are abused right now.
So this article is saying that there is recognition of the squad's average age, something that we need to keep an eye on this, especially at center half and goalkeepers. It requires lowering, it says. There is a recognition that the squad's average age, especially at center half and goalkeeper, requires lowering. The majority of players being targeted are between 21 and 24 years of age. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, when that means that your boy's knackered because, he's 30 plus. So they are looking to lower.
Age is just a number, as I keep on saying to me.
Yeah, but you were saying that, but the people that have information are saying different. So I don't know.
Well, I think we'll keep some of these older players, but we need more of a balance probably in certain positions, like they're saying. Centre backs, apart from Botman, are all 30 plus. The goalkeepers are all 31.
Well, Shar is knackered. Let's be honest.
No, he's still got.
No, but I'm saying he's on the way out. He's on the way out.
He's got another year. He's on
the way out. So
what do you mean? He's signed a contract.
He's on the way out, meaning he's in his career. He's looking at.
I think as a squad player, he's fine, but he shouldn't be starting every week anymore.
Okay, then. So yeah, once you're an older player on the bench, you're thinking about Dominican Republic, going to Cancun. You start thinking about all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But so that's why Mark Gahey comes on. He's vibrant, man. He's virile, unlike the mighty Win. He's ready to. He's like a bull in the. Come on, man. So he's ready for it.
Cancun's now in the Dominican Republic, is it?
So no, I said I clearly separated the two, but fucking hell. Anyways, so what do you guys think about the? Anybody else want to weigh in on the wage? Do we need to really do that? I mean, I know up front we're young, but in the back. We're like mighty Win dog years. When we do the dog year comparison,
we're looking for new centre backs.
But how many players from youth players is Howe bringing through? Again, going back to the point we made before.
Not one.
He puts another keeper on the bench rather than putting a youngster in the squad.
100% agree with you, Boki.
No, I've already said I cannot understand two keepers.
No, I'm not going back to that point. But I'm saying who's he developed? Miley's came through.
Yeah, but Miley, he had a gun on his head to do that.
Anderson.
What I don't get is he seemed a bit confident on Alex Murphy during the tournament we had in America. I think he played a couple of games, so he looked hopeful. But it feels like it's gone backwards with him because I saw he was on loan at Bolton, which means the level isn't high enough. And then there was Cal Heffernan, who there was a lot of hype about because we got him from AC Milan. Not seen anything. So you're right. We do need to bring one of them through because I think the issue is as well, we've talked about this before, Hall and Tino, they have to do too much work because our centre-backs are too slow. Too slow.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Too slow and old. And now they keep running back. And that causes injuries and tiredness. They need to be running forwards, not backwards. So I really think recruitment-wise, I mean, people talk about Gahey. I actually think Gahey's too bulky. He's got a bit of speed, but he's not got blistering pace.
Come on, man.
I'd love us to have someone that's really quick. And that
he's like a Doberman, man. You don't want to get near him, man.
He's got a lot of power. He's powerful.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me tell you something. You see Gahey in the dark alley, you want to go the other way, man.
Definitely.
Come on, man. So
I also think part of the thing next season as well. Somebody said earlier on that we'll keep the older players for the cups. I think in the first round of the cups, if we're playing great respect smaller teams, we need to start bringing younger players into them games, like the big teams do. We don't do that at the minute. We play either we're older, as you say, older players or players who are around the squad.
That's interesting here from Steve. Alfie Harrison has disappeared. Exactly. He was supposed to be, I was excited for him coming from Man City. But because they don't get the opportunity, plain and simple. That's just the way it goes, man.
I don't think they're ready though. A lot of them. I mean, I'm
true.
sure bring through more.
Then why do we buy them if they're not ready?
Well, because they need time to develop. Like Shahar looks a good player, doesn't he? But you're not going to throw him in when he's 16, 17. You want to give him time to develop as a player.
Look at the Australian Wonder Boy. What happened to him? He's about to. He's
starting to develop.
People, yeah, but people keep saying he's young. He ain't young, man. He's young, but in human years, but in dog years, he's pretty old, brother. Not old, but he needs to be getting ready. He needs to be showcasing his talent. And do we think really that what's his name again?
Kieran Maguire.
Kieran Maguire.
Chris.
Come on, what did you say?
He's only 20. He's not that old.
He was ready for the World Cup. He had a great World Cup.
Man, at 20, if you're really going to be that good, you already know, man. You're already seeing some things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and playing up there where he plays, he's I don't know.
Listen. The last 3 months, and Gary's more expert than I am on this.
He's gotten better. Yeah,
a lot. What did he get? Something like 30
a
year.
Yeah, I mean, the last dozen or so games, he seemed to gain his confidence back. He was the biggest problem with Kowal, if I'm honest with you, and it's the same with Sanusi to a degree. They're very electric, down, getting past players and things like that. It's the final third decision making is always going to be now. Listen, I think Kowal had a really good end of the season. His figures show that, but again, the decision making for me at 20 has got to be sharper and has got to be better. And I think that's the reasons why Sanusi hasn't really shone as much or figured in the first team as much as everybody thought he would. And exactly the same, you've just been speaking about, it's just going to hit me bloody head. Who's that lad? Harrison. They were having a close look at him at the end of the season. And I think that is the fact that because he hasn't hit the ground running as much as they'd anticipated. So
we don't even get lucky with that, man. We don't.
So I think he could be one of these lads that gets loaned out next season.
We don't even. Who is our head of recruitment for young talent?
Well, it was Mitchell.
It's the same. Well, did he get Alfie Harrison?
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was Ashley that got Ashworth.
Yeah, but I doubt that I doubt that they're focusing on young talent instead of I think they're recruits. Maybe.
The only
listen, we've got some cracking 15, 16-year-olds. Ferreira, for me, is awesome. What a player he's going to be if he can carry on growing.
Michael Mills is a good player,
we didn't even get lucky. Like Man City, we tried to go get Man City with Alfie Harrison. Chelsea got Man City young star. He became their top player, Cole Palmer. We didn't even get lucky with that, which is crazy.
Contract,
and also, why aren't we buying players direct from South America who are playing first team football?
I've been saying this left and right, man.
Copa Libertadores level, which is similar to. Well, it depends.
It's very much similar and just as complicated as the Champions League, by the way.
Yeah, it's a higher level of football, and you've got teams.
We're not open-minded, man. We're not open-minded. We know we just like a certain type, and that's what we go for instead of being open. If you can't do it, if you can't spend on Premier League established players, then you're going to have to be open-minded. I said the same thing about loans. I said the same thing about free agents. You're going to have to strengthen this squad at some point in time, not with world-class elite players, but you're going to have to bring in experienced players, some kind of talent to fulfill the squad. You're going to have to do that. You can't just be closed-minded and just want to get a certain type of player. Now,
listen. You look at our favourite player from the South Americas, Mustang. What is it?
Oh, Marcelo is like Yamal, man. He's going to cost 40 million.
Yeah, but he's already at Real Madrid now, mate. He only wanted to go to a Spanish-talking team.
Right, yeah, but I mean, trust me, man. You tell anybody that's a good lad down there at the Newcastle United, they're going to sign if nobody else is available. They're going to sign because they want to get out of that situation. Same with an African player. Same with.
You've got Andre at Wolves, João Gomez at Wolves.
João Gomez, yeah, exactly.
If they can sign Brazilian internationals,
exactly.
So we just need to get there,
all we have to switch is because we're not trying to be a selling club, so we got to do the same thing as Brighton, but all we got to do is just keep the players instead of selling them to other bigger clubs. I don't understand why we can't do that. It's to me, how does Brighton? You tell me Brighton generates more money than Newcastle?
Sell more players, that's for sure. for
How
more
much
money.
So
did they buy Baliba for? Now they want him 100 million for him, and he looks a monster of a player in midfield.
I mean, come on, man. You
You
know,
know,
But this is the thing. If they do sell Believer for 100 million, as they say, what did they buy for 5 million? I think they got him for something like that. That's going to strengthen the hand again going forward.
100%.
We
Now,
don't do this.
we don't do
sell
that.
a
But
soul.
yeah, I agree with you. I agree 100%. And at some point, you're going to have to maybe sell one. Or you're going to have to sacrifice somebody. And if that is Livermento mighty win, you're just going to have to get over it because we got Kieran Trippier.
Many
Well,
times
as long as it's not
have I
easy,
gotta
I'll
tell
be
you,
happy.
100%.
Brighton do all of their recruitment, or the majority of it anyway, in South America.
Yeah. And why can't we do that?
Because Tony Bloom.
Here we go, man. You're telling me that Brighton has the formula. Nobody else can recruit from South America. Come on, man. Wake up.
Win. I told you, Ashworth. He apparently he clashed with Eddie. I don't know how true that was. He recommended Alan Varela. I think was it Boca Juniors. He went to Porto for 10 million. Maxim Perone, who ended up, I think it was like 8 million, ended up going to City. Federico Redondo, and there was another player from South America as well. And Eddie was just, apparently in papers, it was like Eddie was like, no.
And that's why we cannot afford to do that. We cannot afford to we don't want to go for cheaper players that are in other leagues, South American, Asian, well not Asian really, I mean because Asian, but African league. We don't want to do that. But we can't buy expensive players. So what do we want, man? We don't want nothing. You know, at some point you're gonna have to pick your poison. Now, priorities, according to Chris Wolf here, because we gotta move on. He says priorities are obvious. A right-sided center back and a right winger, or at least another attacking player of some sort, are wanted alongside a goalkeeper, and a versatile forward is desired, and a midfielder may arrive. So in that order specifically, a right-sided center back and a right winger. We got a lot to buy, man. Our shopping list is pretty long.
You're quoting Chris Wolf there. I disagree.
No. Again, these are the priorities according to his information. You know, I mean, it might be knackered, or there might be great sources, but that's what he's not. This is not opinion, by the way.
Right-sided forward is the number one priority.
Okay, well, according to what he's saying, is a right wing, a right-sided center back and right winger, and then the others follow.
Then an RCB, definitely.
So
way before a goalkeeper, by
the goalkeeper is last. But you tell me, the goalkeeper has been rumored. We've been rumored to go get here. Let me. I don't know. We want to get Tim Krul from out of his grave. We want to get Fraser Foster from out of his grave and sign. Why are we linked with these players? Why can't we focus? Our rumor, it should be Joao Pedro. I'll shake your hand. I like that. Joao Pedro. Every day should be in the tabloids. But what is the benefit from Wolf, from Culkin, from Craig Hope saying that we are rumored with these goalkeepers? What is their benefit? Other than just being the truth.
It's a homegrown situation, I think, isn't it? I think that's what that's all about.
Andre Santos, Iniesta put. That's the other one I couldn't remember. Andre Santos, yeah. That was the other one. Sorry.
Okay. So, I don't know. Let me see more. Let me go. By the way, it looks like we are very much keep pursuing, according to Craig Hope, pursuing Elanga. We're still in. I think representatives have been. We either gone there or they came to Newcastle or somewhere.
It was his representatives come to Newcastle, didn't they?
So Newcastle has spoken to this was the Burnley thing, which we're going to talk about, I guess, to finish up. But yeah, the Elanga conversations are ongoing. I mean, that'll do it to me, but some of you don't like Elanga.
No, and he's not got enough end product for me.
Doesn't excite me. For that price.
40,
6
50.
goals. What did he get? 6 goals, 8 assists, 9
He was
assists.
involved in 18 goals, though, assisting Chris
in all
Wood.
competitions, but that was in a lot of games, wasn't it? 47, 45 games, something like that. Not as many as Murphy.
Like I say, not as many as Murphy. Are we paying that much money for him?
But the thing about Murphy is that, again, he is about to go to a nursing home, and this has been his greatest season ever. So, are we going to trust that? I don't know.
No, but we do want a better right winger. But I suppose, like, if they've got their heart set on Elanga, then we're going to go for Elanga, and we'll support him. But I'm just not convinced.
Why haven't we gone for Cherky and yet City signed him? we've had many opportunities going from, and people say a bad attitude, but he's not got a bad attitude for Pep. So if he's good enough for Pep, he should be good enough for anyone. I just feel we're not got the gumption. Like there's no bravery in there's no attempts. We just give up, or we just sitting back. Like just get in there, man. And if we get rejected, we get rejected. That's fine. I think I don't know if it was true if we went for Delap truly or not, but if we did, I commend us because at least we've tried to sign the player. But
And the same thing. But by the way, I heard about Mbeumo being our top target, but I think what may have happened is that we were talking and gathering information, but we didn't really go and say I want to sign Mbeumo. It says that Mbeumo didn't really was offered to come to Newcastle. Now he probably would have chosen Man United anyway, but still, the worst they can say is no, man. You look at Mighty Win, man. He tries every week, but he ends up in Chinatown regardless. He had to pay for it every week, man. He has to pay for it. He get rejected though. He gets rejected every week, man. But hey, they say no, but hey, he ain't gonna let them win. He's gonna go right to Chinatown, pay for it, senior discount. He is good to go, baby. Ain't that right, Win? All right. Silence. Don't say anything, man. You don't say it.
Banani.
There you go.
We are knackered.
Man.
We are knackered.
How long you been drinking, man? You've been awful quiet. People, we had 160 people watching, man.
I can't believe half the nonsense I'm listening to be honest.
So you are the smart fan here. Everybody else is daft. Perfect. That's okay. I tell you what. Let's go to the daft fans. 160 of them watching us right now, and the one that's smart went to what is the twat name? What's his name? The concert boy, the Geordie lad that was singing out there.
Oh,
today.
Sam Fender.
Sam Fender. So you think you're young? You want to be a millennial, but you can't, man. It's over, brother. Let it go. You're going to watch Sam Fender today. It makes no sense, man. If you were next to me, I'd tell you, Grandpa, go home. It's over, man. Let's go with some comments here that people are bringing on because we got a lot of them. Trevoy Stevens says, I'm getting very frustrated with our transfer window. We need to get deals done. We need to look outside the Prem. If Elanga, Gehi, Trafford, and Pedro, the players we want, we want the bloody go and sign them. Bloody go and sign them. By the way, this thing doesn't stop us from negotiating and approaching teams. It just prevents us from signing them officially. But it doesn't prevent us from actually negotiating. So keep that in mind about this mini window thing that's happening right now. So Alan Mawson, I think given the last three windows is right, Newcastle fans are a tad nervous and frustrated about this one so far. Exactly. Why can't you understand that, man? Makes no sense. Shane, what is annoying me a little is that it seems we're looking at Prem players predominantly overpriced. I hope I'm wrong because so many gems abroad. There you go. John Brown, I think is the one that commented earlier, actually on the previous show. If we don't add quality to this team very shortly, the hardest job we'll have is getting Bruno, Isak, and Botman Gordon and Tonali to stop. To stop what? I'm not sure.
Stop with the club.
Probably means stay. It's probably a typo.
Yeah.
Okay. So stay. Yeah. What do you want, Win? Let me see. What? Oh my God. What is that, man? Play it. Oh, there's a mighty. Look at that. Oh, the mighty twat.
Sexy boy.
You are.
We are knackered.
Whose shoulder are you on?
Come on, man.
Is he on Tiger? That looks like Tiger. Yeah, on Tiger.
He had to go to London. Yeah, there we go. Him and Tiger Studios got knackered. Come on, man. When you are done, man. You are done. Peter Griffin says that we're going to take advantage of teams that we need to sell from July 1st. Also, remember the date when Tonali was signed. I think that was July 3rd. So there you go. Darren Mills says we spent a fortune just after the takeover, hence why we had to rein it in, doing my head in, everyone panicking. There you go.
Don't panic.
Joe Bailey says I thought transfer was to be ramping up this week. Ha ha ha. There you go. So I got a question here from Team Season. Chris, why is Newcastle getting a new DOF from Forest or Arsenal so Eddie has this window only? Well, there is a rumor something about a DOF that we're going to do a show on, so stay tuned for that one. I haven't read it. I don't know much about it. But if we are trying to get a DOF, well, that means that Eddie might.
We are looking at the window is open again from the 16th of June. And from the 16th of June to the 1st of July, that's when the teams who are in financial problems with PSR are going to be looking to offload. Okay. And that's when we can do what Eddie was saying, step in and take advantage of those deals.
Interesting. Okay. Well, any last thoughts, lads? Anything you want to say? Tomorrow, Friday, is 2:30 p.m. UK, the live show. We're going to be talking about the new possible candidate for being a CEO. The lads, Gary and Wynn, will be talking about him, which is somebody that was linked to be worked for Real Madrid at one point. So I guess that could be. But, hey, listen, man, if you are CEO, just think about this, Wynn. If you're a CEO and you're being hired, you're the man. You're the man in charge. So now are we going to have another time where he might appoint his own DOF, or the CEO is in charge of everything. So I'm assuming he might want to have somebody in football related. Then what are we going to do? Eddie can't work with the DOF. So
I'm just hoping that whoever they appoint in any role they decide to appoint them can work with Eddie, because if they can't, Eddie's stock has never been higher, and he'll just say,
well, that don't mean much, by the way. that's Ancelotti's stock right now is much higher than Eddie Howe has ever been. So what are we talking about? It's higher. Yeah, you're
Eddie
right.
Howe's
He's won a cup.
Has never
I know.
been higher.
Yeah,
To me,
okay,
Chris,
it's like
it's never, you're never going to be able to sort the boardroom out until they've got the choice of the manager. So you need the boardroom before you've got the manager.
yeah, but at some point,
While Eddie's there, he's always going to be top dog, basically.
You're right, but you're right, but we can't. Okay, but this is the situation we're dealt with, So are we going to say that Eddie Howe's won the cup, so now the CEO has to be under Eddie Howe? I mean, what the hell? It makes no sense, man. So.
I think
we need
As far as the first team is
but that's all that
concerned.
matters. Win. Football is all. Newcastle is football. It's not cricket. It's not tennis. It's not in any of that. It's football. So therefore, the CEO will want to be in charge of football.
No,
mainly.
the CEO is the company.
That's Newcastle United. So Newcastle United is football,
The
right?
the first team is
yeah. So he will be in charge of everything. He might want to appoint a DOF, if not do himself, I don't know, but might want to appoint a DOF, and then you get into the same trouble once again. It's Eddie Howe.
Okay.
So,
I'm quite happy with that.
But you're going to get into these rifts all the time.
We won't progress as a club, Win. You need a director of football.
I don't know if we will or not, but I'm saying
Jefferson, we are progressing as a club. That's 2 years Champions League in 3 years. And
on that I will agree with you. On that you have to agree.
We are progressing.
On that you have to agree. You have to agree with Win. We have progressed as a club.
Of course. But I think off the pitch, you need that strategic vision. A first team coach is very much an operational role, day to day, training the players on the training ground. Doesn't have the acumen to do that role. And also to do two roles at the same time. That's detrimental for the club.
That's a great argument, Win.
Simple as
so
that.
you say. That's a great argument.
18 Premier League clubs have a director of football.
If that is detrimental, give me detrimental. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, he's just another fan that doesn't, he just keeps repeating himself. He's like Monty the Magpie. He doesn't say anything. He just, flops around, dance around. Anyway. So, listen, we had a great show. Thank you, Key. Thank you, Jefferson. Thank you, Bogey. Thank you, DX. Thank you, Gary. And the Mighty Win, of course, for setting the panel up. That's the only thing he did good today. So appreciate that, mate. And listen, we'll be back tomorrow with the conversation with CEO. CEO is just going to be another job just under Eddie Howe. Make sure the CEO is under Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe manages and runs everything. We gotta ask. Eddie Howe needs to design the shirt. He needs to
What
mix
this,
with the
well,
last.
there you go. That's what the CEO does. He decides
No.
who designs the shirt.
Well, first of all, the CEO
who
does
brings
what he
in
wants because he's the
software,
boss.
Who does everything else.
In a normal
First
world, the
team
CEO is in charge of
football.
everything. I think that in Man City, the most successful club in the last 10 years, the CEO is Pep Guardiola's boss. I think. Now,
And who
Pep
do you-
Guardiola might be
Who
coaching,
do you
might be
think
telling the
decides what
women how to
goes
play
on
as
the
well.
first
We don't know.
team pitch? Pep
On
Guardiola.
on the pitch,
or the
Pep Guardiola.
CEO?
And by the way, I think, I'm just thinking that Pep Guardiola has a little bit more caliber than Eddie Howe in their careers. I think, but I don't know yet. So I may be wrong. I think. Anyway, I appreciate you, lads. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll be back tomorrow once again for another show. William Smith saying, CEO, Eddie Howe, ball washer. Exactly. There we go. Anyways, we will see you all on the next one, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.
How are the lads?
Peace.
Now.